Hello and welcome back. We're still in IQ Games Huddersfield covering the Northern League Legacy event with British Magic Time. I'm Luke Kay. This is Alex Roebuck. How you doing, Alex?
Good, thanks.
Good.
Getting ready for the last round of the Swiss.
Yeah, last round of the Swiss, and it's a big one. We're cutting to top 8, but the top table wants to play out, wants a Dream Crush.
We have a pair down following a draw in the previous round. That means one of our players doesn't need to draw. That's John Ingham on 10 points against John Hibbett on 9. So John Ingham, we saw in an earlier round, he is on a 4-colour Delver Brew with every dual land you can think of and all the fetch lands, wastelands, Deathrat Shaman, Dark Confident, and John Hibbett, who is on Shardless Bug.
Shardless Bug. Exciting stuff. I've seen them both on camera before. They both won their respective matches there as well. We're going to head straight down there now where players are waiting and ready. We're looking forward to some really awesome action there. Assuming we can line up our cameras right. Here we go. So we see that turn 1, Fetchland played for Wisbit. Oh, he was actually resolving mulligans. So as you can see, players fighting out for a space in the top 8. Interestingly, 10 points will get you in.
It does seem like 10 points is a lock, and then we're going to have quite a few players on 9 who are fighting it out in the tiebreakers.
So here, we're in the interesting situation where Wisbit can lose and get in. John Ingram will lose and get in, and John Hibbett has to win, or ID, or draw.
So John with a fetch, not cracking it, passing the turn.
Interesting for a Delver strategy, lacking a 1-drop. Looks like we're going to play a turn 2.
It allows you to play around Wasteland and ensure that you have 2 mana on turn 2.
Yeah.
If you run out the Underground Sea first...
I totally agree playing the fetch over the Underground Sea there. It's just interesting that they didn't have a 1-drop at all.
Yeah, I mean, ideally, John wants to be playing one of Deathrat Shaman or Delver of Secrets on turn 1 basically every
Or even
game.
a Ponder, like, to set up best future draws.
Option C, not the best, but certainly better than nothing.
Looks like we draw...
There's a Dark Confident, which is...
powerful draw engine
card.
and
I
threat.
absolutely love that card.
Yeah. We'll look forward to seeing it do some work in this feature match. With John Ingram, his start of Deathrat Shaman means that he can play a 3-drop now. Or a 2-drop and play around days. These are his options. We'll see how he goes.
I absolutely love Deathrat Shaman. It's such a fantastic card in this format. The fetch lands interact with it so well.
I have such a love-hate relationship with Deathrat Shaman.
The combination of things it allows you to do on turn 2, if you played it on turn 1, is fantastic.
It really is.
My absolute favourite is to wasteland my opponent's turn 1 land and then still play a 2-drop.
Well, at Abrupt Decay, they're 2-drop. They're 1-drop. Yeah. No permanence them. So snapping off this Lily, which is being forced. All playing Lily out of the Veil.
Dark Confidence about to show his upside straight away, which is undoing the card disadvantage of Force of Will.
And then losing 1 life. That Flusterstorm, not going to be great against John Hibbett's deck. It pretty much only hits Ancestral Visions and Brainstorm.
Yeah, not a great deal of targets for it, and one of them is uncounterable to start
Exactly,
with.
Abrupt Decay is the main target you really want to counter, and unfortunately it just doesn't work that way.
So there's a main phase Brainstorm for John Ingham.
Love a good main phase Brainstorm.
Yeah. It's the secret sorcery.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we mentioned last round a few times was how it's generally considered good form to play your spells as late as possible without losing any advantage. Your opponent's end step is often viewed as the optimal time. Brainstorm's really an exception to that rule. What you want to do is cast it in your main phase, put away the 2 least relevant cards, and then follow it up with a fetch. Just crack it, shuffle them away, and then we can draw some fresh cards.
Or in this case, actually, set up your Bob trigger for the next turn as well.
I mean,
as with it's just not to play a fetch land.
both with Delver of Secrets and Dark Confident, there is an element of choosing what to reveal. Similarly, John Hibbett is interested in setting up cascade triggers for his Shardless Agent.
Which it looks like might hit the table here. Since Hibbett's hand is lands and agents.
So that's,
We'll see how this goes. Of course, John representing that Flusterstorm that we know is there, but we'll see if... Well, that's a Hymn to Tourach. Seems like that's getting Flusterstormed. That seems reasonable.
So normally him would be one of the better things that you can cascade into, especially at this stage in the game. Obviously, though, John had the Flusterstorm that we saw him reveal to Dark Confident the previous turn. That's John revealing the second Wasteland just for extra rubbings.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
So, crippling John Hibbert's mana advantage
2
there.
Wastelands plus an Abrupt Decay is effectively taking John off 3 of his mana sources. We're back down to 1. I think all he can do here is probably suspend that Visions.
Yeah, suspend the Visions. I'll take the Vision suspend. We know Wizard's got some Cyphers in his deck. That's
I mean,
a bit frustrating. But, and all this time it's Bob's in play. It's very, very
John's
difficult.
essentially ahead, but he can't. Sorry, they're both called John.
Yeah,
John Ingham's essentially ahead, but he can't really
Oh,
attack.
Wasteland number 3.
Wow.
That's
Okay.
rough times. See now, honestly, Hibbert here could have played around Wasteland a bit better with 2 basics. He's had the opportunity to fetch 2 basics now. This is his second fetch on that's in play right now, so it's a difficult one because we don't know for certain, but
So it's
He's
Tarmogoyf
not
at
played a ton of
5,
blue
6. Sorcery creature.
yeah, it does seem a lot like John Ingram is playing Vintage Fish. Probably got a just roll here.
That Tarmogoyf likely to make relatively short work of
Yeah, sorry, I just.
Sorry, slight interruption there. We've just had a judge called down to the feature match table. We'll get back to you as soon as we figure out what the issue is.
But in the meantime, we can talk about this matchup more generally. This matchup, Forkwood Shardless Bug. Who's favourite, Alex? It's a difficult one.
Yeah,
It's such a
so
difficult one.
how many-
Especially
how
with it
many
being a
Wastelands are in the
John Ingram
Shardless
Wizard
deck?
special. Just 2.
Just 2.
I like a third.
Yeah, for starters, I would be running 3, not 2, and I think that possibly makes a bit of a difference. So, the Delver deck is not typically the fastest version of its family.
This Forkwood one.
Yeah, this Focal version. I mean, it does have Delver of Secrets and Lightning Bolt, and that can do an awful lot of damage very quickly
Yeah.
if those are the cards that happen to come up, which is not what we're seeing here. Generally speaking, Shardless Bug is able to generate card advantage where the Delver deck is less able to do that, aside from Dark Confident on
Yeah.
turn 2. They're doing an awful lot of work for John.
It's done so much work this game. I think that's been resolved. It's possible that we were just worried about revealing extra cards off the library, and the deck's just been randomised. Made little actual
That's a
impact.
correct fetch.
I happen to know that John Hibbert's playing a lot more mana producing lands than I'd play. The list he handed me had 4 Volks, 2 Trops, and 2 Bayou in. Sorry, 4 Seas, 2 Trops, 2 Bayou, which is a lot. I'd go down a Trop and up a fetch personally.
It certainly helps with the death threat shield to run a higher number of fetch lands.
I think you're relying a lot on your opponent there anyway. This has been dazed, which you knew you had. But I suppose running it out means that your turn 3 Shardless is.
I guess you kind of have to take that card off him at some point.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Well, actually, it does reduce the extra land drop as well. I'm okay with this.
It's bold to get a blocker out of the way. Now we can attack for 7.
Yeah. And it's an artifact, it's 8.
Oh wow.
Crikey Moses. Could you talk away from it? Thanks.
I think that might be another lightning bolt in John Ingham's hand, which is another day as well. There we go.
Wizbit's just had
Game 2.
every single card he needed in the right order, which is a real shame. Looking at sideboards, how do you feel about Wizbit's sideboard options?
So overall, I would essentially say that John Ingham wants to keep the game smaller than John Hibbert does.
I definitely agree.
John Hibbert wants to have
Extend
more
it.
resources available,
Yeah.
go a bit wider and a bit bigger, play more expensive threats. I mean, we've got Jason Mind Sculptor, Liliana of the Veil in there. There's a Vendilion Clique in the sideboard.
Also
that might
just
come in.
finishing off, coming off suspend, trying to get Ancestral Vision to off suspend.
Yeah,
as
I
well.
mean, if you're playing Ancestral Vision, it's because you think the game's going long. You think you're going to suspend that card and have it resolved.
Yeah, maybe even on turn 2, 3 or 4 that we saw there, and expect it to resolve.
Conversely, John Ingham's way of winning is probably to keep the game a little bit smaller. So I fully expect to see a Winter Orb. I think True Name might come in just because it's very difficult to answer. Baleful Strix goes some way to addressing the disparity in card advantage. The Shardless deck can generate card advantage in a way that the Delver deck struggles to.
It's not a big threat though.
No, but it does trade very nicely with Tarmogoyf.
Fair. But do you want to be
possibly
trading or do you just want to be attacking? Like, what are you taking out for Baleful Strix, and is it?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I think Baleful Strix.
I think a lot of
doesn't
the, I
also
think a
include-
lot of the counter magic will come out. I mean,
I think the extra Bob goes in.
yeah, that seems reasonable to
Sorry,
me.
Dark Confidant says it.
So John Ingham's going to be able to draw this game, which seriously reduces the value of days.
Does it, like? I'm not even sure it does, especially against Shardless. Like we saw
to
him
be
play a
fair-
turn 3 Liliana, which
To be fair, Shardless is a deck that plays expensive enough spells that you might still manage to catch them with
Mize them,
days.
especially with your 4 wastelands and stifles.
You know, it's not like playing against other Delver lists where they'll cast a 1-drop with 2 lands up. If they're tapping out for Jace, they're tapping it out for Jace. They maybe can't play around Jace. So I don't know, perhaps 1 or 2 of those stay in. Force of Will is it's really questionable for me. I mean, the times when it's good, it's fantastic. You really want to stop him to start resolving.
Yeah.
But do you really want to put yourself a card down against the deck that's going to cast him to start the following turn?
Yeah. Yeah. Forcing the first turn and getting hit by the second is rough.
Yeah. There's the Scavenging Ooze. I don't think I really want to bring that in. I think, you know,
Yeah, fair enough. Should we look
Tarmogoyf's
at-
just better.
Sorry, Hibbit Cyber?
Looking over at
The Charlotte's Bug player.
Charles' player, we've got more hymns.
Hymns are a good speed bump. They slow the game
Yeah.
down quite quickly early on, but drawing them late is terrible, especially against this Delver list that's trying to basically vomit his hand on
I think I like the Disfigure. There's plenty of targets for it.
Yeah. So when John Ass sent me this deck list, he sent me a deck list to build for him that had 2 Disfigure in the sideboard, and I put a Knight of Soul's Betrayal in there instead. And he's played against Infect and Delver, where you definitely want an extra Disfigure, and you definitely don't want Knight of Soul's Betrayal.
I don't know if I agree with you about Infect. Once Knight of Soul's Betrayal's on
They
the
can't
table
beat
against the
it.
deck, they
Yeah.
cannot win.
But you have to get to 4 mana and that's it. Anyway, look at their opening hands now, and it looks like John Hibbert's mulliganing. They're still him Stark in the main, so you're also right to want that card in.
It can just do an absolutely horrendous amount of damage. If you get to cast it on turn 2 and you happen to hit their only lands,
Well, like you were saying, how cast your 2-drop and wasteland them with Death
Yeah.
Threat Shaman. If you
Yeah.
can do that
Yeah.
with a Himstark, you just feel so far ahead. You've no permanence them and super 2-for-1 them. It's pretty rough. So the other question we have to think about is: does John Hibbert know what Wizbit has in his deck? Because he doesn't exactly, and does he know that Golgari Charm is good against the Trin Nemesis Young Pyromancer plan that we didn't see? Oh, Larry was on Young Pyromancer. Lawrence Arnelda.
Yeah, there's
Wizbit
no-
isn't
there's
on
no-
Young
there's
Pyromancer.
no Young
This is a
Pyromancer
very
here.
thin red splash just for Lightning Bolt.
yeah, this
And
deck
Pyro.
has Dark Confident over Young Pyromancer.
Yeah, that's interesting. So, well, it's all Dark Confidant and True
I'm
Name and
looking
Vanillion
at,
Tweak are all very bad against.
Looking at Johnningham's deck list here and figuring out what I'm missing to be able to build it myself.
Yeah, so Hibbert's boarded in Thoughtseizes because he's casting a Thoughtseizes on turn 1. Looking at a stacked hand of 2 threats, a Force of Will and a Flusterstorm and an Abrupt Decay, as well as 2 lands. This is pretty much the dream hand for Forkler Delver. Got removal, permission, and threats, and the mana to cast them.
It's looking fairly good. Flusterstorm still being in is certainly an interesting one.
What do you take Flusterstorm just to take him off force, assuming your opponent plays Delver on turn 1? There are so many blue cards in this deck. This is a really difficult
Well,
decision.
a huge part of this decision is the remaining 5 cards in
Yeah, in
John
John
Hibbert's
Hibbert's
hand, and I've not seen those.
He's taken Delver.
he's taken
so he's
the
taken the
Delver.
1-drop, which I like. It does mean that whatever Hibbert plays on turn 2 is almost free Flusterstorm for John Ingram. So it's,
There's so few cards that are worth pointing a Flusterstorm at.
well, him.
I mean, yeah, him
is a big
certainly.
one. I don't
but,
think John Hibbert can cast Instart next turn now. Unless. I think Ingram drew a 3rd land, which is pretty good. Keeping top it pass. Okay. No, it's Hibbert has drawn a basic forest this time, so slightly good against
I
waste.
think this is going to be Tarmogoyf from.
I agree.
Johningham.
He's drawn the Bayou. So interestingly, John Ingram has shared that extra information with John Hibbert. I think John Ingram has drawn 2 lands in his draw steps, which is very bad. I think one's good. The second one is very bad. Just for the Twitch chat, all deck lists will be available on our Twitter and our Facebook, as well as the Northern League Facebook and probably IQ Games, and indeed 7 City Collectibles who are with us today. All of the Facebooks. So if you want to find the deck lists, we'll link you at the end of the show. But we don't want to give them out to players who are in the event. This Shardless is a good. Ooh, Shardless into Goyf seems strong. So Ingram has the opportunity to force a will something here. This little storm is losing value rapidly, but he's letting them both resolve. Boy, did that swing.
One of the cards that I missed from Johnningham's sideboard. I'm a huge fan of this card.
Fire Covenant.
Fire Covenant. Picked up a couple myself a while ago just because I'm convinced at some point it's going to win me a match. 1, a black and a red is an additional cost to cast it. You pay X life, and it deals X damage divided as you choose among any number of
Sure.
target creatures.
Meanwhile,
essentially, it's a one-sided 3-mana Wrath of God, which in a creature mirror it's ridiculous.
so here we're trading book decays on Tarmogoyfs. Look at those lovely altars. Aren't they nice?
I mean, I'll be honest, I think I prefer John Ingham's.
You're wrong. Mine are better.
He's gone for the distressed look where you
So we've traded
remove some of the foil with the Astar.
decays for Goyfs, which is quite nice.
So this stage of the game is all about who can stick the most permanents on the table, and
Well,
Shardless Agent helps with that for John Hibbett. You know, we develop an extra
Mm-hmm.
card out the Cascade trigger. John Ingham's brought out his card advantage engine, which is Dark Confident. That does need to survive to the upkeep before it generates any advantage.
it does. We'll see how that.
Untapping with Dark Confident is a fantastic feeling.
I can imagine. Double Bob.
Double Bob. I was recently
Bob.
bullied into proxying up a Vintage deck and giving Vintage a bit of a go.
Yep.
And I'm
Double
playing
Bob probably strong there as well.
Underground Sea, Black Lotus, Bob Go, with Force Blue card in hand. It feels absolutely fantastic.
So I've beaten a Jund player who went turn 2 Bob, turn 3 Bob.
Did he reveal a lot of expensive cards?
Yeah, he may or may not have revealed 3 Blood Red Elves off the top across 2 turns and died very quickly to my Deathray Shaman.
That does happen from time to time.
Can we hope that...
Of course, in Vintage, people play it with Blightsteel Colossus.
Yeah, but I still and
12.
Emrakul. Stupid. Insane.
So there's a Baleful Strix, which is a brilliant card in this match. As soon as it hits the table, it's replaced itself.
Oh my goodness.
So no matter what card removes it, John Hibbett will be a card up out of the exchange. Land plus Lightning Bolt are excellent reveals there for...
I mean, I'm not sure land is, because I don't think you want to join him on land, but it is zeroing. I'd prefer any
it
one
gets you a
drop in my
card
deck.
deeper at no expense of
land.
life. I mean, sure, but it means you reach the card underneath that land a turn early.
Yeah, sure.
Also, it's a fetch, which is important when you start casting your Brainstorms.
Yeah.
It's John Ingham's 5th land, which is actually kind of
Yeah,
relevant.
it's the 4th land.
Given that, well, we know he's got a Force of Will in hand,
Yeah.
so now he can hard cast that instead of pitching a card.
Contradict. Ooh. We're bolting a Shardless Station just to...
Lightning Bolt on a 2/2. That's proper magic.
Yeah. And
So
we're
we're starting
aggro
with
Death Right. Interesting.
the drain game on the Death Right.
Yeah.
So what's interesting about that is I may potentially have chosen to bolt the Death Right rather
Same.
than the Shardless Agent, just because although this turn that 2 damage didn't seem like much, he's going to get to do it again the following turn and the following turn.
Just for clarification, is Whisper's hand still... No, it's at least Force of Will and then something else.
It's
I don't
Force
know.
of Will and I think a card with
An unknown that he drew for his draw step this turn. That's right. Because he played the 2 cards to draw off the Bobs. Wow, we're just bashing.
Just a message in the chat. I don't think you'll find a player more fearless in the face of Dark Confident than John Ingham.
So putting Bob to you put him to 4. So this is
Wow.
Oh,
Double land.
double land. He's so happy. Double thumbs up to join them.
You just know that last card is a Force of Will. Are we going to get to see what it was?
No, probably not. So it looks to me like that wasteland is going to be aimed straight at that creeping target.
Yeah, he's
putting
going
John Ingram.
to have to make short work of that.
Interestingly, he needs to draw a real for this Death Ray Shaman fairly soon. Although his own Death Ray Shaman is relatively good at being...
I really think taking down the opponent's
Crikey.
Shardless Agent rather than the Death Rat Shaman was a huge mistake.
Yeah, well, it depends because the Shard Hero would still have attacked as a 2/2. And you wouldn't be able to block because you've got 2 Bobs. But now,
No, but
instead you want to
actually,
block.
on this life total, you want to block with Bob. You
Well,
want to
apparently
get-
we're attacking with them.
In this
Fearless
situation,
man, John Ingram.
in this situation, the ideal sequence of events for John Ingham is that a Dark Confident trades with the Shardless Agent.
Yeah, that's
Because
fair.
that makes him less likely to die in the following upkeep.
Here we go.
Yeah. I mean, if that Death Rat Shaman untaps one more time... oh, no. John Ingham can play around...
Yeah, with his own Death Rat Shaman.
With his own Death Rat Shaman,
Yeah.
sure.
It depends. Now, so now if the best play now is for John Hibbert to wasteland the Bayou, and if it floats mana, change phase, and then we've got the opportunity where John Ingram has to activate a fetch land.
Yeah.
It's complicated,
That's Verdant Catacombs
which does fetch
on
bad
the
lands,
table, and it does fetch bad
freaking
lands.
bad lands that John Ingram is playing.
this deck is. I'm building this deck when I get home.
Well, when was the last time you saw Verdant Catacombs in a 4-colored Elder deck list? I can't think of one. They usually just play all blue fetches. But this has got Tiger and a Badlands and a Bayou. Okay, Liliana.
I think as long as it's constructed such that every fetch can fetch every colour, I think you're fine.
Cool. Liliana resolves with probably -2, which probably actually. Probably plus? A flip? No, -2.
No, that's a -2.
Yeah,
well,
second
that's a
above.
Dark Confident in the
Yeah.
name.
I think.
There's a Wasteland and Tarmogoyf.
But I
If he
think.
plays those, he's got nothing left.
Oh my goodness. Maybe that'll lead you to plus after you've tapped out for all your spells.
Yeah.
No.
I also, so where John Ingham is wanting to respond to John Hibbert's Deathrite to prevent the drain, John Hibbert is probably wanting to respond to prevent the life gain. Yeah, so
And John
Yeah.
Hibbert hasn't got the option of Bayouing.
and that's exactly what has happened.
So force on the top then, yeah?
Well, John Ingham can. Oh,
Chose
he's
not
gone
to,
two.
went to 2.
I was about to say he can Deathrite again in the upkeep.
Yeah,
put
chose not
himself
to.
up to 6. So that's a force.
Talk
of will.
about fearless in the face of Bob.
So he can't let John Hibbert untap, realistically.
Well, he can. He just has to respond with his own Death Shaman, but then his Bob will probably kill him. Right?
Yeah.
So the other option is finding a removal spell, and considering we've drawn so many cards this game, he's lived the dream. He's also been incredibly lucky, and I know Delver decks have ridiculously low average converted mana cost, but I do think he's been very lucky to hit so many lands as well.
He has a very low land count and he's revealed several of them, so I think that's it's a fair comment.
More Goyf.
I think he really has to kill his own Dark Confidence somehow. So we've also got Baleful Strix. It's getting in for 1 in the air.
Yeah. That fetch land's looking a bit sad.
There's a Delver of Secrets.
Crikey. How is he ever flipping Delver in this deck? He has a million threats. And apparently a million lands.
Let's count the spells. In a minute, we've got 4, 8, 9, 12, 13, 17,
And 3 Stifle and 4 days.
19.
Oh, and a 2 Ponder.
22, 26. 26.
That's a bit
I think that really is at the bottom end. I've played some really silly lists with 24 in before, where you really are relying on the
Yeah.
resolution of a Ponder or a Brainstorm to set the trigger up.
John Hibbert going to
But
7.
in all seriousness, you want 28.
Yeah. Well, look at Rogue with 30. I think he's gaining life. So, Wizbit is gaining life here,
So he's going up to
which is
4.
interesting. I think I would have just blocked the activation of John Hibbert's Death Shaman instead.
He's left himself dead to removal.
Oh, on the. Because he can just. Crikey. What's Hibbert drawn for the turn? Abrupt Decay. I don't think John Ingram is dead to removal. But it looks like we're.
He desperately needs the life gain engine from Deathrite Shaman.
I think so. If he Abrupt Decays, is John Hibbert's play here to Abrupt Decay his opponent's Deathrite Shaman and then drain them for 2, attack for 1, and pray that Bob kills your opponent. Because if Bob doesn't kill your opponent, you're fairly dead to. No, you're not dead to the attack unless he flips Delver. But he's got the. Oh, crikey! He's got the opportunity to flip. If he attacks with the. Oh my goodness! So if John Hibbert attacks with the Deathrite Shaman, we can't use and drains. He can't use the fetch.
Yeah.
So that means that when he reveals to Delver Secrets, he's going to reveal the same card to Bob.
Yeah.
This is a really difficult board state for John Hibbert to navigate.
Strix is putting him to 3. Deathrite's then putting him to 1.
Abrupt Decay puts
Abrupt
him
Decay-
to definitely 1.
Keeps him on 1.
Yeah. Assuming Abrupt Decay is the Deathrite Shaman.
Why wouldn't you?
Well, in case you, want to try and win the
I
game on
was
the
going for the
ground. If you
Tarmogoyf.
want to win the game on the ground, because actually John Hibbert isn't far from just attacking his opponent to lethal, and doesn't want to. This our line relied on him dying to his own Bob, whereas this line means that we're not just dead to, random thing happening. Yeah, drain now. I think that's right. Wow. See, John has noticed the sorcery to his graveyard. are we attacking with the Baleful Strix or not? Because if we don't attack with the Baleful Strix, then he's less likely to be dead to his Bob, and he can use the fetch line. But, yeah, attack. I'm all in for the attack. But it means that you can block the Delver on the attack back. Holy moly. Untap. Triggers go on the stack. Both players have played very well. Going this first. Doesn't flip. Does he have a brainstorm? He does have a brainstorm. Oh my goodness. This is such a tense moment, we're all so quiet.
So we're gaining enough life
to
survive whatever card we're about to turn over.
Yeah.
1. So we're back to 2.
Draw. And now we can gain it.
And he's drawn a brainstorm.
So, but John Ingram can't block Baleful Strix and stop the Deathrite Shaman currently. So an Alpha Strike does not kill John Hibbert. I think John Hibbert played this very, very well. Our line was very ballsy and relying on him flipping that Deathrite Shaman to Bob. But so much could have gone wrong. Whereas this line means that we definitely win the turn after with Deathrite Shaman activations, almost definitely.
So
if we hadn't replicated the Tarmogoyf, we wouldn't be able to. We'd be facing on lethal damage, assuming the Delver had flipped. John Hibbert played for worst case scenario. We played for best case scenario, and we were wrong to do that. So fascinatingly, the commentators today have been proved wrong.
So
none of us are infallible, guys. We did also have the
John's just cast his brainstorm and drawn a Stifle and a Lightning Bolt.
That's good. Oh, does that Lightning Bolt put Hibbert to lethal on board?
Well,
he can't
the
block
the Lightning Bolt kills the Strix.
No, it doesn't. Just goes to the face after Geonosis attacks and Bob and Delver. Right? John Hibbert's now dead to Lightning Bolt.
Sure.
Unless Wisbit wants to
showboat a little. Yeah, I think this is.
Unfortunately, John Hibbert's line put him dead to Bolt and ours didn't.
I'm focusing so hard on how John Ingham gets another turn that I'm not really paying attention to John Hibbert's life total.
Yeah.
I was about to say Lightning Bolt kills the Strix, Stifle stops the Deathrite, and then we get another turn. But
yeah. Oh, we've got Decay as well.
The third card was
okay.
Decay.
So yeah, GG, unfortunately. Yeah, Bolt. Jeez.
That was pretty much the perfect 3 off the brainstorm there.
John Ingram did very well to appropriately navigate that, but I think our line, while it would have won, wasn't necessarily the best one to take if John Ingram had brainstorm in hand. Man, that was rough. Good games though. Showed off the power of Dark Confidant.
It's worth noting that our line actually would have won the game though.
Yes. So commentators, apparently we were right. Apologies.
Yeah.
But we had a lot riding on our line being right, whereas John Hibbert just had his opponent to have not drawn Lightning Bolt, I think. It's interesting. It's difficult. It's difficult. But we're going to see John Ingram again in the top 8 in just a few moments.
There's still a fairly good chance that John Hibbert's in as well on tiebreakers. We're expecting to see a 9-pointer squeak in. Having lost to John Ingham means that his tiebreakers are probably relatively strong, especially given that it was on table 1 this round.
Yeah. We're also seeing Daniil Starr, who we've not seen yet. He's on Death and Taxes, the list that Alex Gershaw previewed in the deck tech earlier today. And then his opponent is also in. They ID'd. There are quite a lot of 6-pointers that are hoping to be 9-pointers. We saw Joe and Mark Winkle in round 1. They're both on 6 points. I think
one of the other matches that we're waiting to hear a result from is table 4. That's Kieran Lawless, who we saw previously on the
Leopold
the bug
mid-range
with Leopold, who's playing against Alistair Rees on Infect. Both of those players are effectively on a winning in, we believe, based on the standings before the end of round 4. So
we might be able to provide you with the game 3 of that game. This is not the right. We're just trying to organise a second feature match for you guys.
Joining him too.
While we're sorting that out.
Yes, please. We're just going to go to adverts for a couple of seconds while we see if we can find somebody else to hop into the feature match area for perhaps their game 3. We'll be back soon.
And we hope you had a
Thanks
lovely
for
time.
watching.
We'll see you shortly.